Okay, so I chose the historiography essay, Contemporary History of Social History of Stalinism in Belarus and Russia by Vyacheslav Menkowski. And this essay uses a lot of evidence from government meetings, especially during the Soviet Union, as well as many other Soviet or Russian monographs to argue that the historiography shifted throughout the 20th century to focus on social history rather than the political and military aspects of the Stalin regime itself. The evidence of the shift to a social history first occurred around 1956 with the 20th Congress of the CPSU, and continued to focus on this aspect afterward, and really began to take shape around the 1990s with the collapse of the Soviet Union. February 1956, at the 20th Congress of the CPSU, or Communist Party of the Soviet Union, governments first blamed Stalin for abuses of power and discussed the mistakes during his reign. Menkowski argued that this event contributed to a shift in the historiography, as Belarusian and Russian scholars focused a lot more on Stalin's personality, and key arguments stated that Stalin was a main cause of failure and destruction rather than success or this glorification of his accomplishments and his creation of a socialist nation. Throughout the 1970s, more historians condemned Stalin and discussed his failures, although political censorship still played a critical role in the research, the state of the literature, as Soviet officials deemed Stalinism unavoidable and socialist and still prioritized those contributions and those perceived successes. It wasn't until around the 1980s, during the Perestroika era and the role of Mikhail Gorbachev, as the Soviet Union declined, the evils and the failures of Stalin's rule and that shift toward more of a social history, a true picture of the time frame, characterized Belarusian and Russian literature. And during the Perestroika era, the absence of an official perspective of a government interpretation and the absence of forced conformity provided more freedom and facilitated the shift toward a social history. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, historiographical objectives changed significantly to depict the life of an ordinary Soviet person. So the fields saw the introduction of new terminology, so Stalinism being described as a totalitarian regime, a condemnation of socialism overall, as well as new mediums of research, such as many different archives opening and the establishment of a humanitarian and social sciences library to increase awareness of Stalin's failures and the evils of his reign. Scholarship also examines many new areas of the social history of Stalinism. For example, the psychology of mass murder, relations with authorities, values, norms, many other social forces, and this becomes the primary means of research overall. While the turn towards social history accelerated rapidly during the end of the 20th century, and many new publications and much more interest in the field emerged. In the 21st century, the linguistic turn expanded on the social turn by building on the problems of prior interpretations and the details about the internal conditions of society at the time. Historians continued to focus on relations between groups by focusing on language, cultural elements, semantics, and added a new area of research to the historiography. So just to wrap things up here, Minkowski revealed that political climate shaped the historiography of Stalin and the Soviet Union. And while early research focused a lot on the development of socialism, the positives of socialism, and political history, the decline of the Soviet Union led to many aspects of research such as social and linguistic history. And this is the source that I had cited. Thank you for watching.